Hello, welcome to the Ghost of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm McKelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 27 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we're discussing chapter 26 of A Game of Thrones, which is Jon 4.
As always, we'll chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. And hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
When you say that, I often think I hope we don't spoil the past plot points too, as in the sense of ruin them, you know. They were good until you started talking about them. We'll summarise what's happened, we'll discuss our thoughts on it, we'll provide some useful background, compare it to the TV show, and indulge in a little pedantry. Be sure to check out the show notes, they'll provide you with some additional information about the characters and other things of note in the chapter.
Yeah, I hope people are using the show notes, because
yeah,
they take a while to create.
We started to do them because we heard that some people were not reading the book and relying on us to sort of like give them the full sort of idea of what happened in the chapter, and so the notes are sort of to help back that up. If you're in that situation, the notes should help you.
And a lot of podcasts put show notes in there.
They do.
Patreon, and we're giving them to you for free. That's how much we love you. Anyway,
we're just giving it away.
So how's it going?
Oh, fine.
Is that where we are? Did you finish saying your parts about?
I'm done, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going. What have you got for me? I feel like you've got a story brewing here.
Not really.
Oh.
I was just going to say I saw a good movie.
Do tell.
Dr. Sleep.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it is. I guess technically it is a sequel to The Shining.
Oh, I've heard of it.
It is based on the boy in The Shining as an adult.
Oh.
And I'll tell you, it was like 2.5 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that, or Stacey and I would not have bothered to start it if either of us had known it was so long. I did not reach for my phone once. It kept me engaged for 2.5 hours.
He reaches for his phone while we're recording the podcast. No, he doesn't. That's not true.
No, but...
Well, that's interesting.
It was good.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
Well, I might give that a try.
Yeah. So... shall we
get down to
business?
Quick recap of what Jon was up to previously. Last time we saw Jon, he'd heard news of Bran's recovery. Yay. He'd lost friends and gained friends and made other enemies at the wall. And he'd said his goodbye to his new friend, Tyrion, with a request to help Bran in whatever way he could. His uncle Benjen's gone missing north of the wall, cause for considerable concern, not just for Jon, but for the entire Night's Watch. So, McKelly, why don't we give them a summary of this chapter?
Let's do that. So Jon showing a fellow Night's Watch recruit how to deliver a sword stroke when in walks the fattest boy he'd ever seen. His words, not mine. No. The boy is dressed
They would have to be his words, really. You can't say.
He might have said the most pleasantly plump boy.
Right, and you're exaggerating what it was. I see what you mean, yes.
He referred to him as the fattest boy he'd ever seen. So yeah, the boy is dressed in fine clothing, signifying that he's from an important family. And Jon's friend Pip rightly guesses that he's from the Reach, which is the southern area of Westeros. Since his own fancy armor wasn't black, he was made to re-equip with stuff from the armory. And due to his substantial girth, Donald Noy has to take apart armor and add leather strap expanders.
So Ser Alliser then had the boy fight a big, strong recruit named Halder, who used to be a stonemason before he became a Night's Watch.
Apprentice, anyway. He was a stonemason,
yeah. The point is, he can lift heavy things.
He can.
Yeah. Less than a minute later, the boy was on the ground begging for mercy. Clearly, he did not know Ser Alliser well yet. The knight had Halder continue to beat the boy with the flat of his blade while he laid on the ground. Eventually, Jon could take no more and told Halder to stop. Alliser then pitted Jon against 3 recruits defending the boy. However, Grenn and Pip came to Jon's side to even things out. Yeah. Jon and friends won the fight, though Jon injured his shoulder.
And afterward, we learn that the boy is Samwell Tarly, the son of Lord Randyll Tarly. And he thanks the boys for coming to his defense. And then he openly admits that he's a coward. And the other boys are taken aback by that admission.
Later that night, Jon finds Sam sitting alone in the common hall. Jon goes sit with him with Sam near tears. Jon takes him outside. The two get to know each other. Jon shares a recent dream he's had, and Sam explains how a coward ended up at the wall.
Turns out Sam is his father's firstborn and heir. However, Lord Tarly did not care for his soft, gentle nature, and on Sam's 15th nameday, his father gave him a choice. Take the black or suffer an unfortunate accident and die. So, here Sam is. And admittedly coward, voluntarily joining the Night's Watch.
When they go their separate ways, Jon returns to his friends and cajoles them to go easy on Sam going forward. Everyone but Rast, who was one of the rapists that Jon journeyed north with, agree to this. Jon and friends then use Ghost to convince Rast that he should join them, and sure enough, he does.
Yeah, Ghost has certain influences.
Oh yes, if I wake up with Ghost standing on me snarling, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Nipping at my neck.
Yes,
So,
but well, I know where you're going to go first because you're going to test me on my math, aren't you? To start with,
how did you know? You know me so well.
I would like to say that we're going to talk about cowardice quite a lot in this, but can I just say, isn't Rast backing down because Ghost is going to tear his throat out? An example of cowardice.
It's true. He could have stood up to Ghost.
No, I'm still going to beat on the fat kid. I'm not afraid of...
Do with me what you will. I won't not beat on him.
Yeah. So go on. What do you want to ask?
Well, I was just curious. Most important thing when I read this chapter was, how much is 20 stone?
Well, you can do it yourself, right?
I don't know.
What
is it again?
Stone is 14 pounds.
14
20
pounds.
stones would be 280 pounds.
Okay.
So that would be pretty hefty.
Yes.
That's quite a lot of person there.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to point out to the listeners that I actually wrote 280 in the notes so that I didn't have to do the math live on air and mess it up again.
And that I could pretend like I was doing it with you. We could both go 280 pounds.
So, if you remember, Lord Mormont really wanted more prominent lords to send their sons to join the Night's Watch. Maybe not what they were hoping for here. He is not going to be leading Rangings north anytime soon.
Although, he could be a diamond in the rough.
Yes, I think so.
He seems intelligent. He's got to be well educated. He's from a very prominent family. Doesn't seem like a leader of men.
No.
But, he does check off some of the boxes.
Things that Mormont listed as missing.
Yes.
People who could read and write.
Yes, exactly. So there's certainly a place for him that many of the other boys can't fill.
Yeah.
Like his pants.
Well
or
done.
his armor. Another thing I found odd was that his father sent him to the wall with all this fancy Tarly armor. But everyone knows that they're called the Black Brothers because they only wear black armor and have black clothing. So they're just going to throw all this. I mean, what was the point of all that?
They could paint it black.
I guess they could. Yeah.
But the other thing I was thinking was, if you took it from him, you couldn't really use it for anything else because he's 150 pounds heavier than the next largest person.
But they can make two suits.
Yeah, possibly melt it down and start again.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, maybe that is. And another thing I thought of when I read that part is the shield makes sense only because you had mentioned, I think it was, it must have been the last Jon chapter.
You do that whenever you're reminiscing. You specify the chapter as if it will mean anything to me at all.
But you might dream about it,
I'm
and
just
then you'll
nodding
know.
And playing along. But go on. So in the last Jon chapter,
it might have been. It was one of the Jon chapters we were discussing about. I might have been the last Tyrion chapter. We were discussing about.
That's the one.
Yes, now you know. We were discussing about knights and lords. Sons of Lords, like being a separate clique.
Yes.
And there is a separate hall called the Shield Hall where when a knight takes the black, he puts his shield on the wall. And, so there's all kinds of shields all over the wall. And then when he dies, the shield comes down and is buried with him. But if he was a knight, his shield could have gone up on the wall, but he's not, so they'd probably just tear it down, or probably just melt it down, I guess. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up, it's never explicitly said that the knights dined separately, but it is said that since there's so few knights, that they just dine in the common hall, which leads you to believe that they did once dine in the shield hall, separately from the rest of the riffraff.
Yeah. So Alliser takes an instant dislike to Sam Tarly.
As you would expect.
because he's a new person to take an instant dislike to.
I wonder if he's ever gotten to recruit and been like, I like the cut of his jib right there. You're my kind of guy.
The first thing out of his mouth is, it would seem they've run short of poachers and thieves down south. Now they send us pigs to man the wall.
Yes, and he dubs him Sir Piggy and Lord of Ham.
Charming.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, Mormont's got to be a little bit careful here because, like we were saying, he does bring some useful qualities.
Right.
If Thorn doesn't get the boy killed first.
Yes.
Or make his life so miserable that he climbs to the top. I don't know that he could climb. Takes the elevator to the top of the wall and throws himself off of it.
Takes the flying black.
Yes. Now, I've never been in the military.
You surprise me.
But it just, I've seen movies where drill sergeants are really tough on their new recruits and stuff, but man, it seems like Ser Alliser just really pushes it to the...
Yeah. The thing is, this chapter, when we talk later on about the TV show, you'll see that I've sort of slightly changed my tune on Ser Alliser. But there does seem to be a big hole in his teaching of the kids, in that he's not actually teaching them anything. He's just pitting them against each other and then giving them no clues as to what they should be doing differently or better. Jon is doing all of that.
That's true.
And that's where he's really letting himself down as a drill sergeant. I think, though, they do need the summer beating out of them.
Yeah, right, sure.
I say that from my comfortable home here in the suburbs. But I see the point of why, as a drill sergeant, you would want to do that to
You'd
these
be so
guys.
hard on these kids. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's just like, man, he's rough on them. The name calling and we'll get into some of the things he does to poor Sam here, but it's just, not smooth.
So the fight between Halder and Sam is over instantly, basically. Halder's big and strong, was a stonemason's apprentice. Jon says that when they've clashed swords, it's as hard as anything he's ever felt.
Yep.
So,
and seconds into the fight, Sam's on the ground bleeding and begging. So I'm guessing that's how he was expecting that to go.
Yeah. I gotta say, though, I mean, we know from what Sam said that he had a lot of training, a lot of martial training.
Yeah.
And he didn't take to it. I get it. But, I mean, it feels like with that much martial training, you should be able to hold a sword.
Yeah, it's true.
You should be able to hold a sword. Even if you're afraid of it. The thing is, he's so afraid that he gets punched in the face and things that I'm very afraid of. I'm afraid of getting hurt. But I would defend myself to avoid getting hurt. Yeah. Sam doesn't even seem capable of that.
Right.
And he's had some training to that end.
Yeah. I get it. I get what you're saying. And he's also, he's a large kid, 15, 280 pounds. He should possibly at least be able to put that sword up and,
Right.
maybe not wield it
Halder's
skillfully.
Going to win, yeah, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he must be scared and terrified. And actually, honestly, if your face is bleeding and you're face down on the ground, you'd hope that would be the end of it.
Right. Yeah, but Thorn sees and smells blood, and he's not gonna just be like, okay, enough. Yeah. That's not the way he rolls.
So after being held back a couple of times by Pip, Jon jumps in to save Sam. It's hard to imagine what would have happened to Sam if he hadn't, because Halder's sort of slapping him with the flat of his blade, and that can't feel too great.
Yeah, he hit, I don't remember exactly, but I think he hit, the second time he hit him so hard that the leather split.
Yeah, so he wasn't holding back on these blows.
It just feels so... I just feel really bad for Sam in that situation.
So Alliser pits Halder and two other boys against Jon for defending Sam, but Grenn and Pip jump in to help.
Do.
And
old enemies put themselves on the line for him, so that's huge progress.
And
not only is he making friends, but friends willing to take a possible beating for him.
Yep.
Because they're also now crossing Thorn.
So Jon fights Halder because he's the most fearsome of the three and wins, but gets a nasty blow in the process, and then comes back to help Pip, who's only just holding his own. I think Grenn wins comfortably.
Well, once Pip's foe is defeated and Jon's foe is defeated, the third guy, maybe is Rast? I can't remember. No, I can't remember. He just says, I give up. 3 against 1. I'm not Jon. So we learned that Pip was right. Sam is a lordling from the Reach. It's interesting. Pip says he can identify people based on the way they talk, we can identify where they're from and their standing. Which standing you get. He wasn't exactly masking it. He came in wearing a sigil of a striding huntsman, I think.
Yes. Pip may know his sigils.
Yeah.
Never mind the accents. But you got to imagine actually that the accents would be pretty different. I mean, I've made this point, I don't think on the pod, but I've made this point to you before, that in the United States, the accents are far more homogeneous across the country than they are in England.
Yeah.
So from east to west, you have regional variations, but they are very relatively subtle between regions. In England, we have much stronger variations and over much shorter distances. I mean, like over tens of miles, you can hear very distinct.
Yeah, you have told me about this before.
And so the size of Westeros, you'd think that these differences would be the size of Westeros and the lack of travel.
Right.
Travel wouldn't be easy. These different enclaves are going to develop a distinct regional accent.
Yeah.
Which
makes a lot of sense.
When I was watching the show for the previous episode, for the last, which was about Eddard, I was listening to Arya's accent, and I was thinking how different Arya's accent is from her siblings.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd have to be aware of the English accents to notice it. But I was thinking that's strange. Her accent is similar to Sam's.
Okay. Oh,
I think
they couldn't be from much further.
Right.
Arya's from the north, and he's from the south. So, but this is where Sam admits to the boys that he's a coward, and he says his father has always said so. I don't know if that's self-fulfilling prophecy or what, but the boys are so stunned that Grenn wishes that they hadn't even helped him because he's afraid of being considered a coward by association.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
You know what? That's a slightly strange attitude to take because, I mean, if you're in the Night's Watch, you're defending the realm from scary things.
Yes, from the threats.
From the threats beyond the wall. The rest of the realm is cowering, hoping you win, You are literally defending scared people from threats. That's your job here. Now, admittedly, you wouldn't think one of them would be one of the Night's Watch, but,
That's a good point.
I don't think you're cowardly in defending cowards. That doesn't seem...
yeah. In fact, you could make the opposite argument.
Quite.
They stepped in to help someone in distress.
Yeah. So you mentioned this to me before, that this is what you think of as another example of a character being shaped by the opinion of others.
Right.
That other people's opinion have led them to believe a certain thing about themselves. Arya and Daenerys.
Arya especially from Sansa.
From Sansa, yeah.
And Dany mostly from Viserys.
Yeah.
And here we have
Sam from his father, basically.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think his father is way off base in thinking him cowardly. He's pretty cowardly, but then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, yeah.
Prophecy. You're told you're a coward. So Jon has an interesting thought about Sam's admission, because Tyrion has always told him to own what you are, to wear it as a badge of honor. So to a certain extent, he thinks that there's a strange bravery to Sam admitting it.
Exactly, yeah. Now, this is all... what's his name? Jon is having this thought while he's doing... They go into a little bit information about, like, the daily routine of especially the recruits of the Night's Watch, how they do different jobs. And right now, while he's having this thought, Jon's up at the top of the wall putting down freshly crushed rock to keep it from getting slippery up there. Or slippy, as we'd say back home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a regional difference.
It's funny. I moved down here and I said something being slippy, and a friend of mine was like, "Ha, you said slippy." I had no idea why that was funny. It took me.
You didn't think that was an incorrect word?
Yeah, it's like, watch out, that's slippy. And she was like, "Oh, you said slippy." I was like, yeah?
Yeah, I think you're right. So Jon finds Sam eating alone. So he sits with him instead of with his friends.
Yeah.
So Sam's lonely and feels terrible about things. And
You just gotta, just putting yourself in his shoes. I mean, what an awful mindset he must be in. He's lonely. He can't fight or defend himself even. He's physically and mentally different than all the other guys he's come across. It's just got to be a rather hopeless feeling. And it's only day one.
Yeah.
He's already been beat up and bleeding on his first day. He just got his syllabus.
So Sam is not as scared of ghosts as some people have been. But then again, I suppose he wasn't standing on his face. Jon asked him if he's seen the wall.
This line made me laugh. He said, I'm fat, not blind, and 700 feet high.
He meant the top of it, I think, is what he's getting at. They go on top of the wall, right, for this discussion?
No, they just go out. He sees that Sam's about to start crying again, and he says, let's go outside. Let's go for a walk and talk.
So he asks him why he wants to join the Night's Watch, and he relays the story that we mentioned in the summary.
His actual question is, why would a coward want to join the White Night's Watch? And that's when Sam loses it. He breaks down, and I think the term is huge choking sobs. He just falls onto the ground. And so, we learn that he was heir to all the Tarly lands, which is a lot. They're a very prominent family, and they also have a cool Valyrian steel sword that he would have been heir to.
Yep.
But Sam more loved books and kittens and dancing, and he couldn't stand the sight of blood.
And cakes.
Yes, he did mention cakes.
But the cruelty of what his father tells him on his 15th name day is actually even worse than in what we gave in the summary, because he says that the only reason that he's giving him the choice, and the only reason that if he doesn't choose to go to the Night's Watch, he will say he was killed in a hunting accident, is to spare his mother's feelings, because his mother still loves him. The father said, I'd be perfectly happy just to kill you right now, essentially.
His line was, nothing would please me more than to hunt you down like the pig you are.
Right.
And then, after he says that, he reaches in and pulls out a deer's heart that he's in the process of skinning and shows it to him.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, and yes, as Sam had mentioned several times, he doesn't like the sight of blood, so that can't have helped.
That makes Kat's treatment of Jon almost like warm and loving.
Right, and she isn't his mother.
But it got me wondering, why not the Citadel to be a maester? That is such a better fit, and it accomplishes the same thing.
Do you have to renounce your titles?
Yeah, you don't have a last name anymore. You lose your last name. You basically give up all the same stuff. You can't marry. You can't father children legitimately, and it's just such a better fit. And it's in the South. He's right by there.
I'm gonna let me leap in. I think I have the reason why Randyll Tarly does not want that.
He wants him on the other side of Westeros.
Possible, yeah.
No, but once he finishes forging his chain, which is how Maester progresses, he'll be shipped off to
somewhere else.
Some stronghold.
Interesting. So. Sam's story says that he was doing okay until his younger brother Dickon came along. Dickon was more the heir that Randyll was looking for, and so that's when he started to lose.
Well, that's when when Dickon was born, that's when his father just started to ignore him. He stopped trying to make him hunter or a knight, and he did get a little bit of respite because.
Yes, it actually made life better, Which actually goes to why I think Sam is still fond of Dickon.
Yeah, but so the reason he wants him to take the black, which I just alluded to a minute or two ago, is because it removes Sam as an heir, because they have to give up all claims to land, and they can't father children. So him taking the black moves Dickon into the heir position.
But you raised a really good point. I mean, you're absolutely right that the Citadel would be a much better fit here.
It's almost cruel.
Yeah.
It's as cruel. Everything else he did was incredibly cruel. This takes it to a whole nother level. There was a much better fit.
Because everything you want comes to pass still.
Yes.
And you're not making this kid suffer for the rest of his life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're actually giving him something that he'll probably be good at. So Jon tells of a dream, and the dream was that he was running through Winterfell, and it was empty, and the ravens were gone, and the people were gone, and the stables were empty. In fact, there were bones in the stables.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you got more out of it, but I didn't get a lot from it other than maybe it's him losing his ties to the Stark family.
Yeah,
his Starkness, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's it. But he ends up at the door to the crypt, doesn't want to go down, but he has to, and that's when he wakes up. And he's had this dream a couple of times, he said.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there's a lot to be gleaned from that. Maybe sort of like a general concern for the well-being of the Starks.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Like Dany's dreams were not very well veiled, like you kind of could get an idea of what was going on in those. And Bran had that dream, and there was so much going on in that, but a lot of it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
This one I'm not quite as clear if there's anything beyond just him losing his ties with Winterfell and the Starks.
Yeah. So Jon goes back to the rest of them and convinces them to take it easy on Sam in training. They were at that moment making fun of Sam.
Right, yes.
So he definitely appears to be their natural leader.
Yeah, he tells them to stop
and
making fun of him, and they do.
Grenn and Pip fall into line, of course, but good news for him, Halder falls into line.
Yeah, which he said was thought was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. The only person who says no is Rast. And Rast says, no, I'm going to slice me off a rasher of bacon.
That's right.
So that night, they visit Rast in bed, and Ghost nips at his throat.
Just draws a little bit of blood.
And so from that point forward, no one hurts Sam in training.
Right. And, backing up a little bit made me think of, we were talking about Sam and his brother. The other day, I was in the playroom, and Molly was playing on Apex Legends or some game like that on the PS4. And she was talking to some kid over her speaker, whatever, her headset and stuff. But I could hear him, so he must have been coming through the TV. Anyway, I was telling her stuff. I was kind of messing around. And now I leave, and the boy goes, "Man, your brother's as annoying as mine."
Meaning you?
Yes.
Nice.
I was like, nice. Hey, I heard that.
Did I tell you that the other night, my son occasionally talks in his sleep, and our bedrooms are sufficiently close, we hear him. Usually it's just as he's rolling over. You hear the bed creak, and he goes, right. That's it. But he had a dream in which he was playing on his Xbox. I mean, because he was talking the way he talks when he's playing on the Xbox, and the cadence was like he would talk and then he would listen, and then he would talk some more, and he was like, "Why'd you got to do that, man? You should have gone down there. I'll go this way." It was really funny.
Oh man. Yeah, I hope they won the game. It's his dream, he can make it however he wants. Anyway, where were we?
So a few weeks later, Sam's hanging out with the guys and beginning to sort of joke and tease with them.
Yeah, becoming one of the guys. Yeah, and then he visits Jon one night, and he says, "I don't know what you did, but I know you did it," referring to helping Sam's life get better by the boys going easier on him. And he said, "I never had a friend before." And Jon says, "We're not friends, we're brothers."
I got something in my eye here.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
So Jon thinks about his actual brothers, Robb, Bran, and Rickon. He loves them, but he knew he'd never truly been one of them. But he is truly one of the Night's Watch.
Yeah,
so.
Yep. And his new brothers were, Sam and Grenn and Pip and all the other cast outs who wore black. And we know there's nothing Jon loves more than a good outcast. So he's in the right place, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
And this is what Benjen said. Benjen told him this, that these were truly his brothers now, and he's beginning to see it, and then that reminds him that Benjen's missing still. And
he's wondering if he'll ever get to see him again to tell him that you were right all along.
Yep. 2 ranging parties have been sent looking for him. Jeremy Riker, who we've met before at Castle Black, and Quarren Halfhand from the Shadow Tower.
Yeah, and no luck. They do mention that I think specifically mentioned Quarren. I can't remember. One of the 2 guys are following blazes on the trees that Benjen had left, and then they abruptly stopped in the northwest Stony Highlands. So
maybe they ran out of trees. if it was Stony Islands.
Good point.
Maybe that's the
There's a
problem.
mystery. We can't solve it. It stops with the last tree. What could have happened to him?
So background.
Yeah.
Tell me about House Golden Grove and why you want to talk about them.
House Golden Grove. So one thing we didn't mention was that Jon tells Sam about how Pip ended up at the Night's Watch, and it was because he was caught by the Lord Matthias Rowan in the bed of Lord Matthias Rowan's daughter.
Uh-oh.
And under the eye of her father, she says it was rape.
Of course.
And to the wall he is sent.
Uh-huh.
So, who are these Rowans?
Oh, it's House Rowan of Golden Grove.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So, House Rowan of Golden Grove is one of the most prominent in one of the older families of the Reach, and its lands extend all along the northern region borders. Their sigil is a golden tree on silver. Oddly, their words are never mentioned, so I don't know. I don't have that for you. But like I said, House Rowan is old. They can trace their descendants from the legendary Garth Greehand, which is the mythical high king of the First Men from the Dawn Age.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we'll talk about him some other day. That's through his daughter, Rowan Goldtree, which all that kind of fits together there.
Yeah, it does. I wonder if Sam knows them, given that they're both wealthy, noble families of the Reach.
Yeah, I'm sure their families have had some interaction. The House Rowan was involved in the Field of Fire battle against Aegon and his dragons, which did not work out very well for the side that they were on.
Yes. When you're in a battle called the Field of Fire and there are dragons involved, you want to be on the dragon's side, I feel.
If you're not on the back of the dragon, you could be in some serious trouble. But
Field of Surprising Downpour. They'd be okay to not be on the dragon's side there.
But bringing it all full circle, Lord Thaddeus Rowan declared Golden Grove for the Blacks during the Dance of the Dragons during the Targaryen Civil War, which we mentioned a few episodes ago, fighting in the battle on the Honeywine. And he later became regent. He became a regent and hand of the king during Aegon III's
so they are
regency.
quite prominent, the Rowans.
Yeah. Back, before a king comes of age, they have a regent that rules.
Yeah.
And Thaddeus Rowan or such.
So it's all families from the Reach all the time here this time, because I'm going to talk about House Tarly. They're from Hornhill in the Reach, which is due south of Highgarden. So the opposite side of the Reach. And the Reach is pretty big, so maybe they don't know the Rowans that well. So fealty to House Tyrell, one of the strongest houses sworn to the Tyrells. Their sigil is a striding huntsman on a green background. They own a prized Valyrian steel greatsword called Heartsbane. Ironically, their words, this is slightly apocryphal because it's not in any canon source, but their words are supposed to be first in battle, which is rather unfortunate for Sam.
Yeah, that might not have helped his cause when his father didn't want him to be the heir.
Had his father passed away before Sam got sent to the Night's Watch, he might have thought about rebranding.
First in the dinner line. I kid. He seems like a good kid.
They are one of the Marcher Lords of the Dornish Marches, an area where the Reach, Stormlands and Dorne come together. Interestingly, Samwile Tarly participated in the tourney at Ashford Meadow, where Maker Targaryen killed his brother Baelor, and Egg met Sir Duncan.
Right, just last episode I think we were talking about that. See, it all comes together. And then just a little quick thing about Qhorin Halfhand. I'm not going to say too much because we will meet him at some point. He is second in command at the Shadow Tower, and that is the westernmost occupied fort along the wall, second to Sir Dennis Mallister. He lost, and by he I mean Qhorin Halfhand, lost 3 fingers to a...
I think it'll become very apparent who you're talking about.
It's true.
Who lost 3 fingers to a wildling axe? Was it Sir Dennis Mallister? Was it Qhorin Halfhand?
You'll never. You know what? I'm not going to tell you guys. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. Oh, man. Good stuff.
So, as a result of that, he had to learn to fight other-handed.
Yes, he did learn to fight left-handed, and he was very successful at that.
And, still good.
Yes.
All right, so comparisons with the TV show. So, Halder doesn't exist in the TV show. It's all Rast. Rast does the initial beating on Sam. And then Grenn and Pip are pitted against Jon. So Jon has to fight Grenn, Pip, and Rast.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's quite the difference.
Yeah, they don't try that hard. But Jon hits them both. So, in Sam's story, it's his 18th name day, not his 15th, in keeping with a lot of the book, a lot of the TV show where we age them up a little bit to be more like what we would think of as adults.
Right.
When the recruits refuse to hurt Sam, Ser Alliser makes a very angry but perhaps valid point. When you're out there north of the wall with the sun going down, who do you want at your back, a man or a snivelling boy?
Right. Yeah, that's a solid point.
That is a solid point. Because, I mean, certainly in the show, they don't hit him anymore. They simply don't hit him.
Okay.
And in fact, Grenn tells in a battle with Sam, he says, "Hit me." And Sam swings the sword, and Grenn goes down as if struck by a fearsome blow. So Sam is learning nothing. Right. Absolutely nothing.
Although I still stand by, he's not there to be a warrior.
Right.
Maybe, it seems more likely like a apprentice to Maester, like an assistant to Maester Aemond, or maybe even in the...
Couldn't agree more. And actually, if I was Ser Alliser, I would just go to Mormont and say, no point teaching this guy
right.
anything.
He's a distraction.
Take him to the kitchens. No, not the kitchens. Cheap gag. So Book Sam is more snivelling and pathetic than Show Sam. Show Sam just gets beaten up.
Yeah.
Show Sam just can't adequately wield the sword. Book Sam appears afraid of everything.
Yes, right. That's what Jon says to him. Are you afraid of everything? When he says, I can't go up on that wall. I'll die up there.
I have a lot of empathy with Sam.
I personally would not want to be on the 700-foot wall in the
so pedantry,
wall of ice on the left.
Pedantry corner, there's not a lot, but it seems that admitting cowardice should be a little bit more innocuous of an admission than they seem. I mean, I realize it's a different era. But I mean, just on the podcast, I've admitted my cowardice at least 3 times, And here's a 4th. And I'm okay with it. I mean, obviously...
You're not in a military type situation, which I guess, he's training
but
to be...
Grenn and Pip weren't until a few weeks ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just ordinary kids. Was cowardice that much of a crime? I mean, I would think if you were living a urchin life, being smart and cowardly might actually be a favourable crop of things. In fact, might be the kind of traits that are passed on from father to son. Whereas bravery and being loud would die out quite quickly.
It almost goes back to what Peter said to Ned when he was talking about Brandon, and he said he might have been the big strong one, but he's been dead for 14 years and I'm still here, so...
People call me Littlefinger, but I don't care.
They don't call me dead.
Yeah.
So,
we're gonna keep going with these episodes.
Yeah, double episodes.
It's getting later and later every time, but we're gonna do it. We'll be overnight sessions here.
If we keep going much later, we'll just be doing them live.
Yes, this will come to an end. We've said this from the get-go, but it's definitely taking a toll.
It is. The one thing I just don't want to compromise our quality of our episodes.
Well, I think we've set the bar appropriately. We should be fine.
And to our last final listener that we have.
All right, so in conclusion, a new friend for Jon, and that's nice because basically the only one he had went south.
Right, yeah. Although, look at him. He's like running the show up there now. Yeah. He's got...
Yeah, and literally helping the other boys. I mean, they are all getting better at swordplay because of him.
And I think that goes to helping their opinion of him. He's helping them, so they're seeing him almost more as like a trainer type than just another recruit.
Absolutely, yeah.
So in their eyes, he's been elevated for some, probably.
The other advantage here for Jon, not just having a new friend, but also having a friend who is as despised as he is by Ser Alliser.
That's true. He has split the
exactly.
The
There's only so much spite one can have in you.
Although we'll find out. Ser Alliser seems like he has a lot. Yeah. But one thing I didn't mention in the summary or in our general discussion is that Sam is not exactly impressed with Castle Black. He says, I just didn't think it would be like this, all the buildings falling down. And then he goes, and it's so, and Jon goes, cold? It's so cold.
Most sentences of new recruits end with the word cold.
Right. Yeah, he says he's never even seen snow until last month on their journey north.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention it, I don't think, as we talked about his armor, but I think I mentioned it to you before we started recording. I think that he might needed to have been armored for the journey north.
Oh, yeah.
He had a long way to go, and he's
That's
fat
true.
and not very handy with the sword, so...
Armor wouldn't hurt.
Yes.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, unless he went by boat or something, and then you really would want to get that off him in case he fell overboard. Sink like a stone.
Yeah, we don't know if he could swim or not, but based on the athleticism he's shown thus far, I've got a hunch.
So TV show Ser Alliser is slightly astute here.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's a different character than the book character, but I actually believe in what the TV show version of Ser Alliser is saying, and I think that what happens when he says it in the show, Jon actually looks sort of like, oh, yeah, you've got a point, yeah.
Uh-huh. You're talking about when he says, when you go north of the wall, who do you want to have your back?
Exactly.
So Jon turns around and starts
whacking. But I think Jon probably then goes through the process that we've gone through of like, they're not going to send this one north of the wall.
Right.
He's hopeless. But Ser Alliser is brutal and does delight in it. But he's right. These soft southern children of summer, they need to be toughened up if they're going to survive.
Yep, for sure.
In the very next scene in the show, Alliser talks to the two of them, Jon and Sam, and tells them of his experience north of the wall last winter, which involves eating horses and cannibalism to survive. And he's sort of gives Sam a little punch on the shoulder and says, you might be okay north of the wall in the winter.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
poor kid. If that's a spoiler, it's news to me. Okay. I'm not aware of that conversation.
But you've actually seen that TV show,
just
have. So you know.
My memory of the TV show is about as good as your memory of that scene that you dreamt of.
Stop. So Sam's backstory is genuinely heartbreaking.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah.
And just unpleasant. And if we ever see Randyll Tarly again, I'll give him a piece of my mind.
Tell you what, I'm making a fist. You can't see it right now.
He's shaking it.
I'm shaking my fist. Yeah. And, like we've been saying, he's not going to be a great warrior, Sam. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he is not cut out for being a warrior. But I think we led into our general discussion with this idea that he has a lot of the things that Ser Jorah Mormont mentioned to Tyrion that they need. That
they lack so desperately out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He seems like a pretty intelligent guy.
Yeah. And, if all else fails, he can go north of the wall on the rangings in the winter. And he may be a second-rate swordsman, but he's a first-rate third course.
Oh, man. Maybe I'm not sure if it's better or worse if we record this late in the evening.
Punch drunk.
Normally we record in the mornings, and it's about 12 hours later than we normally record. Anyway, you got anything else?
No, that's all I got.
That's all I got. So, as always, you can reach us at ghost.harrenhall@gmail.com. Please consider going out and following us on Twitter at @GhostHarrenhall, on Facebook, Instagram, and our episodes are up on YouTube as well. So lots of ways to interact.
If you do like what we're doing, please leave us a review wherever you listen. That would really help us get the word out. It boosts us up the sort of search engine lists when people give us reviews. So we're all in this together.
Yes, very much. And even on iTunes, even if you just rate us, all you have to do is click the stars. 5 would be my...
Click the right-handmost star.
Exactly. Whatever that is, just click it. Anyway. All right.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.